What is happening, everyone? Thank you so much for joining the webinar, this session for us to help us find ways to strengthen and improve our relationship. I'm really excited to share with you all of the insights and the information that we have, and I hope that you find it useful. As you know, we built Couply to help improve your relationships. This is why we exist. This is why we're doing what we're doing. And I wanted to pull together some of the new things that we're learning and drawing from and share them in hopefully a useful format. So, without further ado, let's dive in. As you know, we built Couply to help you build an amazing relationship that will last the test of time. So, I'm Tim, and hopefully you know me. I am the founder of Couply and currently speak to many of you on a frequent basis, which I'm so happy to do. Why did we build Couply? We built Couply because there are so many apps out there that help people get into a relationship, but not so many apps that help you maintain and keep the relationship that you have. This is why we built the product. This is why we built the app. And we're still working on it. As you know, I think we've had 169 releases throughout the time of Couply. So we're constantly updating, we're constantly building it, and we're trying to stay abreast with the latest technology, the latest relationship science, and bring the right folks in to help us build this product into what we know it can be. And I thank you for being on this journey with us. All right. So when we think about a relationship, we like to think about it as a literal ship, something that you craft together. And this is why every relationship is so different, because each of us bring different things to our relationship. Often people think of their relationship as me versus the other person, or the reason I have relationship problems is because the other person is saying this, or I bring my own baggage to it and it gives it this dynamic. Whereas what I think is a really useful way of thinking about relationships as this thing that you're crafting together. Each of you are bringing your own unique pieces. Each of you have your own unique vision. And it's so important that you and your partner get on the same page with this shared vision of your relationship. And it can look so different. Look at the examples here. You can see how we've got a yacht mixed in with a pirate ship, mixed in with a cartoon boat. We've got a pirate ship with jet engines on the side. All of us have these different expectations, different wants, different needs. All of us have one life. All of us have one final destination that we're going to be going to. So you might as well enjoy the ride. You might as well build something amazing with your partner. And that's what we're trying to do. What are the elements that make up this thriving relationship? And here's the thing, everything rests on one thing: trust and commitment. That is the hull. That is the thing that is going to keep your ship afloat in the ocean. I'm abridging this, by the way, from John Gottman's work on your sound relationship house, but I'm carrying on with the metaphor of the ship because I think it's way cooler. So, trust and commitment is the exterior hull of your boat. It's the most important part. Without this, you're not seaworthy. There's only one place you're going, that is down to the bottom of the ocean. What are the elements that make up trust and commitment? I wanted to list them out here because people often ask us this. There's a ton of different things that make up trust and commitment, and it's almost a whole separate course that we could just do on building this. But I think the key points are that really you and your partner are there for each other. You trust each other in the relationship. You're not about to leave. You're not half foot in, half foot out, and you're committed. Those are the key parts. The fact that you trust the other person and each of you are actually committed for this relationship to go the different distance. Without that, you're kind of building on a hull that isn't seaworthy, right? You're adding additional features to your ship when as soon as you get it out into water or when it hits rough storms, which we'll get into in a second, it's not going to make it. So trust and commitment are the core. Now let's get into more of the beautiful stuff. How can we really make this amazing relationship? You understand each other's world. You understand the goals that each of you have for your lives. You understand each other's preferences. You understand each other's icks. You understand where you're trying to go on this journey. You share fondness and admiration for your partner. This is so important. We've all seen couples that talks so much shit around their partner. You're like, why are you with this person? You so obviously don't care about them in that way, or you just have this core negative image of them that they're lazy, that they're stupid, they're disorganized. What is the point? You should just break up with them. If your partner isn't your cheerleader, if your partner doesn't have your back, if your partner doesn't admire you or believe that you can actually make a difference in the world, then what is the point in being with them? This is such an important part of relationships, sharing fondness and admiration for your partner. And I'm sorry, guys, it's a practice too. This is a practice that you can have in yourself and in your relationship when you're speaking about your partner with your friends, when you're speaking about your partner in your family, when you're thinking about your partner. Are you being fair to them? Are you building a core negative image of them? Or are you giving them grace? Are you seeing the best in them? Are they deserving of that? Is another thing too. You're probably thinking, look, Tim, actually, there's a bunch of stuff my partner's doing that isn't okay, that isn't right, that isn't working. Well, you still have a little bit of sway over that because you also have a responsibility of communicating, of sharing boundaries, and asking them to work on their shit. And if you're putting up with it, and if you're not pushing them on it, each of us have our part to play. Oh, I mean, how core is this? I think we've all seen the recent, maybe not all of us. I saw the recent Love is Blind episode. And two of the characters on there, one of them was just constantly on their phone. While she was trying to talk to him, he would look on his phone. Sometimes he wouldn't even respond. You can't build a relationship with someone. You can't build a thriving relationship with someone that doesn't have the courtesy of paying attention to you and a positive perspective. We talked about this core negative image stuff. A positive perspective is the opposite of that. That's when you're bringing grace into the way that you view your partner. You're seeing the positive things in both your life and your relationship. Now, you shouldn't be delusional. There is definitely the case of too much optimism, and not, I'm someone that's been guilty of that for sure. But bringing a positive perspective to your situation is super powerful in creating a thriving relationship. Look, it's not all going to be roses. We're going to go through tough seas and treacherous waters. Managing conflict. The Gottmans have got great research around this, but the way that you argue, the way that you fight is one of the leading indicators of how long you'll stay together and the quality of your bond. Making life dreams come true. Guys, we only get one life. Our relationship should be part of the thing that helps us achieve our life goals, that helps us achieve our dreams. We should be discussing this with our partners and building roadmaps and ways of achieving them. Is this something that you do? Have you ever just put aside some time with your partner and said, hey, what are our actual life dreams? In a real conversation, it's really powerful. Uh, Obviously, as a founder or someone that builds products and tries to make things, I'm definitely a big vision person and goal setting person. My partner is slightly less so, but we still have big conversation around what we want our life to look like, what our dreams are. Building rituals of connection. These are the things that make your relationship special. It might be the one restaurant where you guys always go to grab your favorite slice of pizza. It might be that coffee shop. It might be the trips that you both love to do. It might be the things that you do with your family. It might be the in jokes that you guys have said 1,000 times. But these are rituals of connection. These are like your home base moments that are safe, that are you, that are meaningful. These could be like waking up and making your partner coffee in the morning. It could be making that special dish. There's so many things that we build into our relationships, and really thriving relationships have a whole bunch of these that act as ballast that help keep you grounded when you're in rough seas. And finally, getting through tough times. Life is not easy. Especially as you get older, life gets harder and harder. We want to be with someone that helps us get through tough times. Now, so many relationship problems just come from the difference between men and women. And I think in this day and age, it's almost controversial to say that we think differently, that we want different things, that that our whole brains are evolved differently. This comes a lot from men are from Mars and women are from Venus. It's a pretty cool book. I've been reading it. I got it here. It's definitely influenced this, but I think the big thing for me was around the dictionary, the translator of the things that men say and then the things that women can perceive. And there's definitely some truth to this. We could look at this in more traditional terms of like masculine and feminine values, or masculine and feminine the ways that we are. And as someone, I am definitely a man that has feminine elements in the way that I think and the way that I do things. There are definitely feminine elements. And equally, there's in my partner, she's got some masculine elements. I'm still an absolute lad, so I still love to do all the laddish things. And there's loads of stuff in here that I definitely identify with very much so. And there's other elements where I'm like, oh, I can actually see myself more on the Venusian side, but I always knew that is something that made me a little bit different from the rest of my mates as lads. And it's just all of us have these different elements. So let's get into that. So men primarily need trust, acceptance, appreciation, admiration, approval, and encouragement. And there's this big cultural thing between Mars and Venusians. Okay, so let's get into the quick context here. The idea is this. You got the Martians that grew up on Mars, and you got the Venusians that grew up on Venus. And they've got two separate cultures. Now, eventually, they managed to find their way to each other and get into these incredible relationships. But because of their different cultures, they'd often see similar misunderstanding and patterns because they come from two different places. We could argue that some of this is maybe from an evolutionary standpoint. I think so. Um, but it's really powerful, I think. And I think it's very, very useful. So that's why I've included it here. Men need trust, acceptance, appreciation, admiration, approval, and encouragement. Oh, there's so much discourse around this as well, especially in the way that we have women now earning as much as men, women outperforming men in the education system. There's still like a lot of elements here around the differences between men and women and how that's playing out in our relationships, especially when we do have women who are out earning more and still leading the homes, right? And men are earning less, and yet they need this acceptance, appreciation, admiration when they're not earning as much and might be not doing as much in the house. This is like a very, very common thing that we're seeing in relationships over and over and over again. And I'm sure it's things that you guys are struggling with. So, why is this so important? Men have a way of communicating. They tend to speak literally and succinctly. Now, this is very different. Women need caring, understanding, devotion, respect, validation, and reassurance. See how different these are? Trust, acceptance, appreciation, admiration, caring, understanding, respect, devotion, validation, and reassurance. This is the way that they grew up on Venus. This is how the Venusians work. When they communicate, their communication can be very symbolic. It will be around feelings. They might, things will be generalized, hyperbolized, and they can use poetic language to express themselves. I'll never forget when my friend was describing how she had this, her friend was cold to her essentially, or her friend was snappy with her. And when she described it, she said, I went and tried to speak to Sarah about this thing, and she ripped my face off. What a wild sentence to say. And for a second, I just had this image of her friend digging in her claws into her face and literally tearing her face from her skull. That is that poetic language. Whereas I think men might be, probably not even noticed it if someone's being snappy, or they're like, oh, they're just being snappy. I'm gonna give them a bit of space. These are two very, very different ways in which men and women communicate. We've got different rituals of connections. Venusians can tend to get together to harmonize their feelings. And it's almost like, as a man, if you see a big group of women getting together and sort of doing this harmonizing thing, it does look a little bit like magic. Like there's something in the air that you can't quite see. And you know there's something going on, but you're not really part of it. You definitely don't really understand it. Whereas men, when we get together, give us a game, give us a project, give us something to do that has ritual or building, and we're so fucking happy. Like building this app with my co-founder, I'll go around his house and like 6 hours will go like that on a Sunday when we've just been trying different things or looking at different onboarding flows or whatever it is. There's so many things that men like to do together around projects, even just like doing sport together. It often involves systems and rules and numbers, and it becomes important later on. And look, this mix is amazing. We need the Venusians to balance us out. The Venusians love our practicality, and and also, again, I have to say these are just tends to. So if we look at like the big scope of the big chart of where people are distributed, all of us have different areas on this. Not all, some women absolutely love to do projects and love to just play games. Some men love to hang out and have big chats. And I've seen myself in this definitely because I'm someone that likes to talk, if you can't already tell. It's still a beautiful mix between feminine and masculine. Amazing. But we do get disconnected. Sometimes the Venusians are like, what the fuck? Like this guy just doesn't, he seems to be impenetrable. He's got his helmet on. Like, how do I get through to him? He doesn't talk like us. He doesn't seem to want to understand each other. And that's important because the way that Venusians deal with problems is by being accepted, is by being understood. And as a Venusian, and probably any lady watching this who might not be communicating that well, or who might not have communicated with her friends, or haven't played these very underhand and delicate psychological games that women play way more than men. Women's friendships and men's friendships are so different, and I think that's very accepted. If you don't get this balance right, or if you are in a group of friends who are being vengeful for you and playing these status games, you get cast out. And it sucks. And this is the punishment for this lack of understanding, this lack of sociological, emotional understanding that the feminine sees. And how do Martians deal with problems? Men like to retreat. If we got something on our mind, we like to retreat, and they call it the mind cave. The mind cave is a place where men go to think about their problems. So when we have problems, we like to process and think. What helps us process and think? Well, a few things. Number one, anything that has rules and systems and typically numbers. It could be sitting down to eat one bowl of popcorn, drink two beers with some kind of movie or TV in front of you. It could be playing a video game that has numbers, charts, and is a game where we can progress in as a way to relax and unwind. It could be driving your car, very meditative, but it's got gears, numbers. You're looking at the systems, you're in the rules of the road, right? These are the sort of things that men can do. It could be going to the gym and lifting weights of a certain weight, certain sets, numbers, rules, structure. It's so helpful for men to be able to do this to relax. This talking stuff doesn't necessarily work, especially until a man properly understands those problems. And the way he understands them is by spending time. I like to think of it as like his little men, okay? So if you can get yourself into a meditative state, you have a problem, something that's weighing on you, you get your little men to work on it. Stephen King talks a lot about this in his writing. You think about the problem, and then in your mind, you let a box of little men out that start working on that problem. There's thousands of them, and then they're chipping away, thinking about how it works. You can see them here. They're working on it. They're doing it. This idea of having your mind broken into a thousand pieces. So when you're doing something and you're in the mind cave, here's the thing. The Venusian will try and talk to you, but she doesn't understand. You've only really got 10% there. And the 90% is off distracted working on the problem because they don't really have a mind cave in the same way. The way that their problem comes out is through this conversation. The problem is shared. And I think this is one of the really big things that we get so disconnected on is guys can need a shitload of time in the mind cave to make sense of this. And it's not always healthy. A guy might go to the bar and drink 12 beers, but there will be numbers and systems around this. He's going to go there and probably drink 10, or he'll drink until he can't remember, and then the next day the little men will be at work. But I think as men and anyone who's more in their masculine, you've got to find ways to have a healthy mind cave. You need to communicate as well that this is how you want to deal with your problems. And it you need to communicate it in a way that the Venusian's going to understand because for her, if you're not letting her in, this is her fear. For the Venusians, the Martians do this because the punishment, the way that they want to help is by helping build. We are honored by helping build and for our competency. But when we're trying to talk things, the Martian might not understand because he's trying to get to the literal problem. He doesn't understand this thing that you're trying to create in the sky. He thinks that you're asking him to help solve a problem that he can get his head around and then get super focused on to build. When he does that, the Venusian doesn't really care or see it as the same value because on Mars, competency bestows awards. For people who are in this like male system, if you're competent at things, you get rewards. You don't need to be emotionally smart. If you're wicked at football, you're going to get rewards. If you're great at MMA, you're going to get rewards. If you're great at science, you're going to get rewards. Whatever you do, if you do it to a high level, your life will be great. And you don't need much emotional intelligence to do this. This is the culture of Mars. The punishment deep, deep, deep down in our psyche, we have this idea that we're only a little bit away from the apes and from the cavemen. And if you're not competent, the risk is you will literally be torn apart limb from limb. I think that deep down that is our fear. That is this monkey brain that we have in these human bodies has this fear of getting torn apart limb from limb. Your armor torn off and you're isolated or you're out in the jungle without any tribe and no armor and you're going to get killed. So that is some of the differences between men and women. That's some of the psychology behind our communication styles. And if this resonates with you, let me know. If you think this is bullshit and it doesn't resonate with you and it's unhelpful, let me know as well. Bolts of connection. Here is some really powerful stuff. So we've got these different ways of communicating, right? These different systems. The most important thing is that we actually respond to one another. You put down your phone. You make an effort to respond. If you're in the mind cave, that 10% needs to communicate. A, hey babe, I need an hour to decompress. I need to do this. Is that cool? That's still communicating. Hey, I'm sorry, I can't talk to you right now. I'm doing X or Y. That's still communicating. You're still communicating and saying, hey, in 5 minutes, in 10 minutes, let me do this. Ignoring your partner, looking at your phone, not responding, the death knells of your relationship. Successful relationships respond to each other's bids of connection or bolts of connection, because we're going with the ship analogy, 86% of the time. Relationships that were going to fail, and I believe the stat is 99.3% of these relationships failed, is when they turned away 66% of the time, turned towards 33% of the time. This was a 6-year study from couples that got married. So turning towards is around connecting with your partner. Turning away means that you don't connect with them. Think of it back to the ship analogy, okay? There's 3 ways that you can do this. Way number 1, when you turn towards your partner, if they have a bid for a connection, which is anything, by the way, it's them groaning when they're trying to pick something up, it's them struggling with the shopping, it's them sighing loudly at their computer, it's them trying to talk to you about something or get your attention in some way. You either A, respond positively, and this tightens the bolt. Think about that ship image at the beginning. You're now tightening the bolts of your hull and connecting it. You ignore it, and the bolt is there, but it's loose and it could fall out. Or the worst way is that you respond negatively. And that is like you being on one side of the ship's hull and your partner being the other side. They're trying to push a bolt through to connect, and you push it out the other way. Now there is a hull in your ship that's going to be letting in water. And once you've got enough of those, no matter what happens, it's not going in. Look, some of the guys might be thinking, Tim, you have no idea how many times my girl friend hits me up for these bolts of connection. Like it's impossible. Fair enough. You might need to have some conversations around how much you're being hit up constantly. People with a super anxious attachment style that haven't done any work on it need constant reinsurance, and it can be exhausting. And they end up building the environment where their relationships aren't going to work out because they're asking for so much reassurance. It becomes impossible for their partner to constantly reaffirm them in every single way, every single day. It just becomes exhausting, and they end up getting to the 66% thing. So yeah, I get it. And I'll touch on this very shortly on why it's also important to understand yourself as a person and understand your partner. Okay. So I want to flag that. The other thing people are looking for in relationships, the ARE theory. This is done by Dr. Sue Johnson, absolute legend, not a relative of mine. I wish. Actually, could be a relative of mine. I haven't looked it up. So, this is accessibility. Can your partner reach you? Are they actually accessible to you when you reach out to them? So these bids of connection, when you try and actually talk to your partner about something or get in touch with your partner about something, you want to sit down and connect with them on something. Are they there for you? Are they showing up? Responsiveness. Are they showing up for you and tuning into the things that you're saying? Are they actually not just there, but they're in it with you? Do they celebrate good news with you? Do they commiserate bad news with you? Like these are the things that you look for in a responsive partner. Engagement. Are they actually engaged? Do they give a shit? Are they thinking above and beyond? Are they going outside of the normal things that you see in a friendship and making you feel cherished and special? This engagement, they're in it. They're committed. You have that sense that your partner is making you feel like you're something special. This builds into the bolts of connection. But we have to understand one another. And this is why we built the quizzes in Couply. Understand your love language, understand your partner's love language, understand your attachment style, right? These are the key things that if you can understand them about you and your partner, you're going to start recognizing these bolts because these bolts show up in different ways depending on who you are, depending on your communication style. If you're someone who's more assertive, it's going to feel different to someone that's less assertive, right? And if you're a more assertive person, you might not even have viewed that as a bolt of connection because it's not how you would talk about things. So you skip over it. And then you're weakening your ship's hull, and then your relationship doesn't work out. And then you're completely confused and taken aback when your partner wants to break up with you, when you feel like you haven't even had a serious conversation about anything, because the way you communicate is so different. This is why it's so important to actually understand your partner and take some of the quizzes we got in Coupley. We have about 200 in there. I'm not saying you need to do all of them, but you definitely need to do the first 16. Working through those together is going to give you an encyclopedic knowledge of your partner's psychology. And why is this important? Because it helps you build love maps. And love maps are around being curious about your partner's world, understanding their shared world and where they want to go on this journey, on this adventure of life, where you want that crazy shared ship that you've built together to take you. In Coupley, we've built it with tons of questions around all different topic types. These questions let you get on the same page. For example, what is something that your partner does every day that you enjoy? Now, there's ways to answer this. Um, we use the acronym C to give a good response to a question. So it shouldn't just be about like, oh, make me a coffee. No, how about we go a level deeper? I love it when you make me fresh coffee in the mornings. Emotional. How does it make you feel? When you make me a fresh coffee in the morning, it makes me feel loved. Engaging. You're saying this in a positive way. It really starts my day off right. That is such a better answer than I like it when you make me coffee. I love it when you make me fresh coffee in the mornings. When you do that, it makes me feel so loved and it starts my day off right. That's how to answer the thousands of questions in Coupley to build connection with your partner. Because very similar to those bolts of connection, if you're going through the app it's hard to make it guarantee that your relationship's going to improve if you're giving one word answers or you're being sassy or negative with your partner, right? You're going through this trying to forge a positive connection. You're not doing it to constantly shit on your partner on the things they aren't doing. You're trying to build up that ramp, build on the things that they are doing and frame things in a positive way. Why is this important? And here's some examples that I've literally seen in Couply. When we've spoken to people about why Couply isn't working for them, these are the sort of things that we see. Survivors, which of your friends would you pick? So we've got um, the lady here picking her friend Caroline, cool reasons. And then we've got the man bringing in this negative. You don't have any friends that could help you. You might as well pick Chloe because she's slower than you, so at least you'll run away by getting eaten. This is not the idea of the app, right? It's not the idea to use this in a negative manner. What's something you'd like to try? I'd like us to calmly discuss some conspiracy theories. Idea being that this person's partner hasn't calmly discussed them before. She's bringing in this negative energy to it. You probably said something stupid like you want me to research conspiracy theories with you. They're using it as an argument that they are rehashing that same argument. I want to end with avoiding some of the core pitfalls in your relationship. These again is the work from Gottman, and these are known as the four horsemen of the relationship apocalypse. So criticizing. These, you really see these when as soon as someone's saying you always or you never, that's like a just a general massive red flag in relationships that you can look out for. If you find yourself saying that, you need to catch yourself on it because it's the first slipping, sliding into these core negative images that become the repetitive problems in your relationships. Getting immediately defensive. This drives me mad. Like if you have the strength to bring something up to your partner that is bugging you, and then they just get defensive with you, they don't try to understand your perspective. That's a really big problem. The way that you want to approach these conversations, if your partner's bringing up a complaint, get curious about what is the thing underneath it. Why is it making them feel like that? Okay, how can I dig underneath and find that emotion or that value that this is pinned to? And it's going to be something around that. Are you there for me? Are you responsive? Are you engaged in what I'm saying? Right? It's going to be deeper. But just getting into the debates of the semantics in it isn't going to be helpful. But sometimes you need to use those things as clues to find out what's really going on underneath. Stonewalling, ignoring the conversation or going silent. I can't handle this. I don't know if you can. For people who stonewall, make some rules around it, right? If you need to retreat to the mind cave, you need to let your partner explain that to them. Hey, I'm overloaded. I'm sorry. I really need some time to process this. Can we come back in 2 hours, 3 hours tomorrow? Can we come back and get into this then? But you can't use stonewalling as a punishment. It's actually listed as an abuse. You cannot use stonewalling as a punishment. You remember that image of the Venusian being cast out, right? You remember the image of the Martian being cast out alone without his armor. This is not a tactic that you can use in your relationship. If you're someone that needs that time to process, you still have to verbalize that. You can't just go silent and walk away. Acting superior, contempt, acting like your partner's an idiot or mocking them, being sarcastic. Oh God, it's impossible to argue with someone that wants to make it personal and who wants to just win the argument, right? You get this. I think we've all felt that when you stop having a conversation and they're just bringing in Jason Van Ruler calls it the greatest hits. You know, they start bringing in that stuff that you did 3 years ago, you did this or you did this, and they'll say it in a crazy way that just to get an emotional response that gets you very upset. And when you get upset, you're gonna need some time to calm down. It's different from stonewalling. Stonewalling is when you are non-responsive. Taking some time to calm down and saying, "Hey, I'm activated. You want to use if you want to use therapy speak, I'm activated. If you want to be real, I'm I'm pissed off. I can't talk about this right now. I need 30 minutes then we can come back when I'm calm. Because right now I'm emotional and I'm gonna say something that I don't mean, and then we'll have an argument about that. Fucking hard to do, guys. That's like advanced. This is super advanced. All of this is pretty advanced relationship stuff. But look, we're coupley. We're not here to build a normal relationship. Here to build the best relationships in the world. So, of course, we're teaching you the advanced shit. Of course, we want you to understand these concepts and have them in your relationship. It's how we grow. It's how we're going to build something incredible that will last the test of time. All of us are in these relationships for the rest of our lives, and lives are brutally hard. So we want to build them into something amazing. We know they have the biggest impact on our happiness, so let's make it happen. Okay. Whew. Hopefully that's been useful for you. Please do let me know. I really appreciate you guys being part of the Coupley community. I'm here for you. If you want to get on a couples clarity call, this is when I work with you on any element that you want in your relationship. Let me know. That said, I need to caveat I'm not a couples therapist. I'm not a couples coach. I'm not an expert. I'm just a random dude who's read a lot of books and is super into this and is willing to help you. So you can hit me up with that. Other than that, I hope that you find this useful. As always, we're so open to your feedback to make Coupley the best it can be. We're building it for you. Let me know what you want to see. We can build anything that is technologically possible. We can build it. As you know, hopefully you've seen the AI coach that we have in the app. She's awesome. I've been talking to her a lot. She's really helpful just to bounce things off if you don't want to bug your friends or your therapist or whoever it is, or talk smack about your partner. Going to the Coupley AI coach and just unloading on her it's been really useful, at least for me. Let me know what you think about it. And I just want to say thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys so much. Stay in touch and